guys, Jenny with On Fire Fit, and I'm back with Pastor Jim talking about dreams. And this time we're going to talk about reoccurring dreams because no matter who you are, what country you live in, or whatever the case might be, you probably have had recurring dreams. And there are some dreams that tend to be very thematic throughout people of all groups. So we're going to talk about some of that, how that might apply to you. Maybe you can apply it to your own life. As we've talked about in previous videos, there is a lot that you can get from dreams because we believe that a lot of times there is a message there, and God is really good about giving us messages, especially sometimes when we are not in a position of being in control. When you're asleep, you have that ability to just receive downloaded messages from God. And so a lot of times our focus is not so much on all of our busyness and distractions, but we have that ability to kind of say, oh, wow, here's a message. Sometimes it can change your course, it can give you a little more insight. God's all about revelation and giving us understanding and wisdom. So we're going to talk about that. Pastor Jim and I have kind of set the stage a little ahead of time. He's got everything kind of figured out as far as our outline of how we're going to go through this. So I'm going to turn it over to him. He's going to get us started.
Well, yeah, thank you. So reoccurring dreams or recurring dreams, I don't know whether it needs that extra syllable in there or not, but they're just common to everybody. Our brains are all wired similarly. So, one of the things that in studying dreams and dream interpretation and all that, I've read a lot about your first dream. Everybody has a very common first dream, and it may have happened before you can even remember it. And it is the baby falling dream, right? When you're a baby, when you're a child, we've all seen babies that are startled awake. They're laying there peacefully sleeping, and all of a sudden they just kind of jerk and jump, and sometimes they cry. What's happening there is they are having a dream about falling, and these babies have never fallen, and I believe, to me, that's just a way of God training an infant, because, what's kind of the worst thing that can happen to an infant? The parents are going to feed it, and they're going to keep it warm, and they're going to do all of that. But babies do fall sometimes, so maybe it's a training, has a training purpose, for God to tell you, always make sure that you are on a solid foundation, or, and your footing is, good and all of that. But that's kind of, where dreams start with for most people. But as we start to grow and we start to venture out into the world, and we start to have these reoccurring dreams, and a lot of them are very common, and forgetting your high school or your school locker combination, or not having to take a test that you're not ready for. Jenny talks about that one a lot, or not having your pants on, or being naked in public. You go to school and everybody's standing around pointing and laughing at you, and you can't figure out why. And then you look down and you realize, you're Charlie, or you're Winnie the Pooh in it. You've only got a shirt on, and so that very common. And then another one is, and this one is not specific in itself, but it's a genre of reoccurring dreams. And I don't know if it's, it probably has to do with the 20th century. I can't imagine people in the 15th century having a driving dream. unless they were riding in a wagon or something. But um, so we hear a lot of people having discussions and thoughts about driving dreams. So that's kind of where we kind of break it down. And you may have other dreams. If you have reoccurring dreams, let us know. We'd love to hear them, and we'd love to interpret them and get back to you on. So speaking of reoccurring dreams, Jenny, you have a reoccurring dream that somebody sent you. So if we want to maybe do that one, and we can get into others.
Yeah. Well, and the specifics you may remember better, but he was used to, I think, in real life, kind of having control of his environment and things like that. And in this dream, he was in the back seat. He was not driving. And it was this recurring dream. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it created a little bit of anxiety for him. Do you recall that?
Yeah, yeah. I think he was a guy that always needed to be in control and have control. And in the dream, he would be in the back seat, or end up in the back seat of a car. I think he had these dreams over a period of many, many, many years. But he would always be in the back seat, and he would be panicking because the car was, to him, out of control, and he's in the back seat and he can't do anything about it. It's very interesting, when you're a person, and you have a job where you have to be in control, and all of those things, and you're a very control oriented person, and you have these reoccurring dreams where you're in a car and you are in the back seat, or you're in the passenger seat, and the car's out of control. And so he was kind of unnerved and anxious about that dream, and he always woke up being very kind of out of breath and anxious, and worried about that dream. So Jenny, tell them what we came up with on that.
Yeah, well, I think you were the one that said that God is the one driving, and you don't need to be worried. That's a beautiful thing to be in the back seat, because God has it figured out, even if you can't see what's going on or what's. And since then, he's never had that dream again.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool, and it's actually been probably 4 months, maybe, since he sent us that and told us about it. Yeah, I told him, God's your Uber driver. You just have to sit back and relax and enjoy the ride. You don't always have to be in control, because God, no matter what, is always in control. So there's times when we don't need to have our hands on the wheel and working the pedals. There's times when we can just sit back and relax and trust him.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. So you have had, over the years we've talked about your dreams, you've had a lot of driving related dreams, different scenarios, different, positions in the car, different things. So tell us one or so, about one of those, or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, I've had dreams of being in a car, in the driver's seat, in the passenger seat, and in the back seat. And I think that, looking back at the scenarios and what was going on in my real life at that time, it makes sense. There were a lot of times where I definitely was in a good position to not be the driver. There are other times where You know, you do get that sense of this is a good time for me to, take control, stand firm. This is, and so then you're driving. But in one of my dreams that is a little bit more vivid, I was in the back seat, my husband was in the passenger seat, and there was a different gentleman driving, but I knew that it was God. I knew that it was God driving. And I really felt safe, secure, calm. And Pastor Jim even pointed this out from a standpoint that I wasn't necessarily thinking of it, but my position, and I've always felt this way, is as the wife, I am in the submissive position in the back seat. Now, that could be we could go into a whole thing about that, but it's not a position of lack of control or lack of power or whatever. It's just a position that is secure. I know my place. And my husband definitely listens to me and everything. It's not like, he makes all these independent decisions, but it was very secure knowing that God was in control and everything in its place, right? And it was a very I don't remember exactly the details of what was going on in real life, but it definitely was a position of feeling like this is how it's supposed to be, and it felt right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Or you could have been, driving Miss Daisy, or the Queen, with your with your coachman. Seriously, I think the position that you take in a vehicle, in a driving dream, has a lot to do with the message that God wants to get across. If you're a person who has feels like you're not in control, or you have a hard time taking control, he can put you behind the wheel, and let you know that you're comfortable driving, and being in control. Um, you know, or the back seat, as a submissive person, being in that third position, that back seat, that just means you have absolute trust of the two people in the front seat. You don't have a worry in the world, because they are in control and they're going to take care of things. So whenever you have a driving dream, be cognizant of where you're positioned in the vehicle. I just recently had a dream where I was driving in the snow in my old big four-wheel drive pickup truck, but I was on the passenger side, and it was snow. I mean, it was probably 18 inches of snow on the ground, and the truck was in two-wheel drive, and I'm trying to get it into four-wheel drive from the passenger seat. Nobody's driving. And we're just careening down this snowy road. And then it dawns on me, hey, dummy, maybe you ought to be in the driver's seat. So I crawl over and get in the driver's seat. And as soon as I get in the driver's seat, I almost hit another vehicle, but I was able to veer off and miss that vehicle, just by taking control, you know. So I think that was a dream about, learning to accept and control and take control, and whatever in my life. So, position dreams, in driving, like I said, in the 1700s, they may have had that about being in a buckboard or something, but who knows, in the future they'll have those about being in a rocket ship, right? So those are driving dreams. Another very common dream, and I had these growing up, were flying dreams. And they were always, like I was telling Jenny, I've probably had 200 of these dreams in my life, and I had them up until probably my children were born, 30 some years ago. Um, but I started having them, when I was in like elementary school, and I was able to stick my hands out to the side like this, and I could kind of levitate up off the floor. And then, by leaning my body, I could begin to fly. I would just fly around, and the dream, I don't think was so much about the situation or, because sometimes it was in the day, sometimes it was at night, sometimes I was in a city, sometimes I was in the country, flying through trees and all that. To me, the dream was just about absolute freedom, being completely and totally free, and that ability, and uh, that's a big thing that I preach today. Freedom in Christ, freedom in your identity in Christ, freedom, in this country, in the U.S. We're losing freedoms, and so freedom has always been a big thing in my life, and I think that came out of those dreams. One of the things that a different kind of flying dream that I had a lot was I would be in a crowd of people and I would show them, I would stick my arms out and I would raise up off the ground, and they would all be like, ooh, ah, that levitation thing, maybe I'd fly around a little bit, and, they would all be, freaked out by the fact that I was able to fly around. But I believe that again was, me demonstrating to people you can be free. There is great freedom greater than you will ever know anywhere, is available to you. So, yeah, I, I, I was in the military and I was helicopter crew chief. So I flew all the time in helicopters with doors open, and I've actually hung out of helicopters with a strap on before, and I've done all kind of crazy things, and none of that ever came close to the feeling of freedom that I had when I was flying in those dreams. Um, it was really something special and something that I always hold near and dear, that I believe God gave me, was that those dreams and that sense of just absolute total freedom. So that's my reoccurring dream, Jenny.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna pray for flying dreams. I don't have those, but I think that would be, an amazing feeling to
Mhm.
have in a dream. So yeah, on fire freedom, let's go.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, flying dreams are always good. Um, so reoccurring dreams are not, sometimes they are scary, like our friend that sent us him being stuck in the back seat, for however many years, 10, 15, 20 years, however long he had those dreams. He was always terrified of those dreams because he was stuck in a place that he wasn't in control. When in truth, that dream was not about being afraid. And as soon as we gave him, the interpretation of what that dream really was about, he hasn't had that dream since. Um, so I feel that he got released when he got the revelation of the fact that, man, I don't always have to drive the car. You know, I can sit back and relax. Um, and and in thinking through this for this series, the flying dreams that I had, when I was younger, I just thought they were cool dreams. but now I'm able to link it up and say, yeah, that taught me a freedom. And now I'm all about freedom. You know, that's the main thing that I talk about in my ministry is, being free. Jesus can free you from anything and everything, certainly from fear. That's the big thing that keeps us grounded, and in those dreams, I learned that I was freer than the people that were earthbound. You know, they couldn't do what I did. They couldn't go to the places that I did. They couldn't see what I saw. Um, I think that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And how that relates to God and, the freedom that we can get through, just cutting loose all of that junk of the world and and living our lives completely trusting in God.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah.
yeah, and it really is interesting when you think about, some of those commonalities of the recurring dreams that you were talking, like the locker or the pants or the, test, and they're all fear-based. They're all
Mhm.
things that people fear. It's funny too, because I was like, I don't think I've had the combination, like forgetting my combination, and I haven't had a dream about not wearing clothes or no pants but tons and tons and tons of dreams, not recently, but not being prepared for a test, and one of my biggest things that I've always had this to deal with is this performance issue.
Yeah.
Am I going to perform up
Yeah.
to, and so it's interesting that has been one of my recurring dreams. Like I said, I can't think of the last time I've had that. It's been quite a while,
Mhm.
probably around the time that I really started to identify my issues with performance. But it is interesting when you look at those things from the point of fear and what is the truth, and you don't have to be performing at the same level all the time, or you don't have to meet up to some artificial standard or whatever, and so I'm not sure if the getting caught without your pants has more to do with your, identity of how people see you or, whatever. But, maybe analyzing those things for, your own sake. What is it that maybe that's kind of highlighting that I don't need to be afraid of that anymore? Like in
Yeah.
this case with identity, God tells you who you are. You don't need to
Sure.
worry about other
Sure.
people.
Yeah. I've had those, no pants in public dreams. Not a lot. Um, I think they're more, again, it's fear based, but it's um, humiliation, and not being, self confidence. It's a dream about self confidence. In real life, if I got called out in public with no pants, I'd be like, sorry for your luck. I mean, I'd be fine, but everybody else would be, trying to put their eyes out. Um, so, yeah, maybe that's why I only had that a few times. Is I've always been a fairly confident person. Um, but yeah, and forgetting your combination. I think that has to do with preparedness and not feeling prepared, just much like your test. It could be performance based, or it could be just not feeling prepared. Not feeling like you're going to measure up, and I guess that is sort of performance based. Um, yeah, yeah, good
Yeah.
call.
Yeah. So I think that, kind of that contrast of those dreams that are more fear based versus the flying dreams that are freedom,
Mhm.
and just kind of seeing how those things sort of highlight maybe things for us to pay attention to. But yeah, let's all fly in our dreams. That sounds like a way better thing than trying to take tests for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You know, and in those dreams, I never once fell. I never once crashed. You know, yeah, you think of like the greatest American hero, you know,
yeah.
a school teacher who gets these clothes from some aliens, and now he has to learn how to fly, but he never really learned how to land. So every landing he had was a crash landing, you know. But I never crashed. I never, you know, I never flew into anything. It was always just wondrous, you know. I mean, I can't even put it into words, you know, the ability to fly and do all those cool things. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I pray that y'all have flying dreams
Yeah.
because they're pretty cool.
Okay, did we hit all of our points?
I think we did. I
I
think we
think
did.
so. Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully we.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, hopefully we spurred people's memories. You know, maybe they have a recurring dream that you know they want to send us, so that we can talk about it and maybe try to figure out what God was trying to tell them in it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So send your dreams if you have any on firefit@gmail.com and we will review those. And yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, well, anyway, thank you, Pastor Jim, for helping me with another fun dream video. And I hope that you guys have amazing dreams, beautiful revelations from God. And we would love to hear from you. So until then, live on fire and free flying.
Hey, there you go. There you go. All right. See you guys next time.